I have a suspicion that we're going to walk into a pretty strange problem in the modern day, and that problem is the possibility that it's very hard for people to form unique opinions, and we end up becoming people who basically just regurgitate or repeat the things that we hear online or that we hear from other people because they sound profound when they come from those other people. And don't get me wrong, I think to some extent, especially when it's very easy to say this is right and this is wrong, it's very reasonable to take the opinion of another person. As an extreme example, let's say one day someone tells you that 2 plus 2 is 4 and another person tells you 2 plus 2 is 5. It's very reasonable and provable to basically say 2 plus 2 is 4 because that's how arithmetic mathematics works. And if you heard that from someone else and someone says, oh, but you're just saying what they're saying, you can just say, okay, fine. I don't mind saying that because they proved it, and that's just accurate to the science of mathematics. And even going on a bit of a tangent, even for me, I know that I am more prone to looking at what people who know more about me in a topic, looking at what they're saying and basing my opinion off of what they're saying. But a key word in the idea of basing my opinion, not to say I'm going to take their opinion word for word, like for like, because the reality is no matter how knowledgeable someone is, it doesn't mean that they're vulnerable. It doesn't mean that they're not vulnerable to some form of bias, and that their own personal experiences, their own beliefs, and their own ideals are not going to muddy how they deliver a message. There are some stuff that I don't know, and I couldn't possibly know in the space of 5 months or even 5 years to some extent. But as a human being, especially when it comes to things like voting and having important conversations about our culture and the society as it develops and grows, it's still very important that I'm able to create an opinion that's unique to me, but that's also informed and that's also a fair opinion that we can have a conversation about. And truth be told, to be able to do something like that is actually pretty difficult. It's pretty tough. And if I was going to play a bit of devil's advocate, I think that's a reason why we might find it very common, or we might find it noticeable that a lot of people don't really form their own opinion outright, and they basically just regurgitate what they hear online. And while we can talk about and say it's reasonable and pretend that it's reasonable to say, oh, it's very difficult to form your own opinion, for me, that's just not the kind of standard. For me, it still doesn't excuse it. We still need to be able to form unique and valid opinions because we're all our own unique human beings. We all see things differently. And I think, especially just for the sake of having conversations with each other, even for you, having conversations with your friends, with your family, or anyone else you're interested in having a conversation with, if you can just bring out your own unique opinion, you can just bring out your own unique talking points, unique to you, unique to your own experiences, and that basically say, this is me, this is what I think, this is who I am, it just makes conversations a lot more interesting, a lot more authentic, and I think I'm going to do some double speaking, but it just makes things feel a lot more real. Because when I think about it from my perspective, I would always rather just talk to someone. If they're going to bring up a talking point I've heard online, I always wait to listen and wait to hear what do they say differently as opposed to what I heard online. What do they say differently? What's their own spin on things? What's their own unique twist on it? And whenever I don't get that, I just lose interest in the conversation. Because it's very easy to just have a YouTube video pop up on your feed to talk about something, and then you talk about it, or you listen to that YouTube video talk about it, and then you come to me and then you just say the exact same thing that YouTube video has talked about. If I've never seen that video, it isn't really that noticeable. It's still an issue, but it's not that noticeable because I've never seen the video before. But the day I come across the video, either before or after you have basically spoken out those talking points, I'm going to realize that, oh, well, I'm basically just arguing with the internet, or I'm just talking to the internet. And for me, it became that thing where it clicked in my head to be like, well, what's the point of this conversation? I could have really just watched this YouTube video. Or it's like, oh, this is like that one YouTube video I've watched where I've heard these talking points before. So it's a bit pointless to engage. And sometimes you might argue that if the conversation heads in that avenue, you could try to pivot the conversation or really try to force your own spin on things. But from my own experience, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Even if you do try to add your own spin and unique twist, you still sort of end up falling back into the classical issues that you might find online. But now that I've talked about that, I think we should really think about what does it take to formulate your own opinion. And one thing I do need to say is when it comes to formulating an opinion, it doesn't need to be 100% correct. I'm not a firm believer in the idea that an opinion must be right all the time and that everyone has perfect logic and perfect knowledge. It's also economics 101. The first thing you learn is that we don't have all the information in the world, so we can't make all the right decisions in the world all the time. And sometimes information is blocked. Sometimes we have our own reasons for misbelieving a few things, and that can cause some faulty opinions. To some extent, it's not really our fault for all of these faulty opinions. The only thing we can really be held accountable for is seeing if we are able to improve the opinion when given the chance to. So don't worry about yourself being perfectly right. Don't worry about yourself being uber wrong. So long as you don't cross very dangerous lines and so long as you don't cross unreasonable lines, it's perfectly fine and reasonable. And I also say that to say that you should take what I say with a grain of salt, a very, very big grain of salt. Because even though I'm going to give you a framework for myself as to how I try to formulate my own opinions, it doesn't mean it's a framework that's going to work for absolutely everyone watching the video. But I do think one thing is for sure, we should all just try to make frameworks to develop our own opinions. The first thing I do with mine, which is just very passive, this one is mostly based on luck, is just that I'll be on YouTube, I'll be on social media, or I'll just be walking around and something just pops up, a new piece of content pops up. Maybe it's a new topic. Maybe an example could be, oh, gaming is dead because people are buying less sports games and sports games are most popular. I watch a video like that. I consume the video. Maybe that's a blog post or someone is telling me that. I consume that information and I'm supposed to take time to process it. So I do. I take time processing the information, listening to the points in the video. Sometimes I listen to the video on the background, and whenever I do that, if I don't process that information, I tell myself I'm not really going to talk about this topic because I wasn't even focusing on the video. But let's say I was focusing on the video. I process the information. I think about where have I seen examples of this in my own real life and how have I reacted to that. And then I think if it's necessary, what does this say about my own values? What do I know about the topic? What do I know about the subject? And what do I know about the consequences of this situation or the implications of this circumstance as compared to what the video is saying? It's very hard for me to give a framework, mostly because one, I really do suck at explaining very complicated things, which might mean I don't know them as well as I do, and I have to work on that. But also number two, just trying to give a framework for me and trying to turn that into a one-size-fits-all solution is just very awkward and very complicated. The main point that I'm trying to sell when it comes to that whole thing that I was doing was that you need to somehow find some sort of structure towards your thinking that, number one, allows you to process information somewhat properly, to be able to comprehend what you're listening to, comprehend what you're hearing, and get some type of meaning out of it, so that if someone asks you, do you understand this topic, you can say, yes, I have an understanding of this topic. And then number two, you need to be able to look outside of the surface level information and connect that to yourself and connect that to your own life so that you can use it as a foundation to basically develop opinions that are unique to you. And then number three, I think, is just being able to deliver those opinions in a way that's respectful, a way that's logical, and in a way that doesn't harm other people. So maybe you think about, oh, I think this, and then you think about, why could I be wrong? Maybe it's because I'm wrong because of this, I could be wrong because of that and that. For example, with the opinion I'm giving right now in this video, I could be wrong in the sense that one day we might find out that it's very reasonable and mostly it's the most effective thing to do to basically trust someone who's more knowledgeable about you in a subject simply because they have the knowledge for it. I could be wrong. That's a hypothetical situation. It's a very probability-esque flaw in my opinion. But also, number two, it could be possible that I'm just missing something. I don't have that much life experience, so I could be missing a few things here and there that if I had certain experiences in life, if I lived through a few more years in my life, I would have a different lens as to how I would deliver this opinion, and maybe I have different perspectives as to why the opinion could be wrong. So now that I have those in mind, whenever I'm in a conversation with someone about, oh, we don't really develop opinions on our own, I can confidently tell them, oh yeah, I could see why I might be wrong about this and that maybe at the end of the day, it's a topic that doesn't need as much smoke as I believe it needs to have. But the point is, we fall back to that step-by-step process. You consume the information, you understand and comprehend the information, you see how that information affects you and what it means to you, and then you figure out an opinion from there. And then with that opinion that you have, you think about what this opinion could mean. What implications does it have? What is the good of the opinion? What's the bad? What are the flaws? What are the valuable parts of that opinion? And then if you want to have conversations about it, you focus on the valuable parts. But if flaws ever come out, or if flaws do need to come out, you're not afraid of that. If flaws come out, so be it. It's a part of the opinion. It's a side effect of being human. We can't be right all the time. And with that said, I think that's where I'm going to end the video. If you you enjoyed this one, if it was good for the background, I hope you stick around and are able to enjoy the next one. But if you have something to do, like homework, I suggest that you go do it. Until next time though, I'll see you.